time to dig into my archives to say thank you. On March 27th, 2011, BBC stops using 648 kHz for English language broadcasts to Europe. Although you'll still hear them via the internet, the medium wave button will be silent in my car. In the summer of 2003, I took a trip to the Suffolk coastal village of Orford, which has been there for quite a while already. I'd agreed to meet up with Andy Matheson, one of the few engineers I know who takes a boat to work over the River Orr. Followed by the short Land Rover ride out to the transmitting station on the marshes.
That's all stuff from the Cold War era, yeah, 50s, yeah. It's also the birthplace of radar.
Yes,
this area here.
And further down with Bordsey, is it?
Yes, but it moved from here to Bordsey.
I
was
see.
Originally here. There's an old Thames barge there, Thames barge. Yeah, the 6 on the right-hand side here on 1296 were put up in 1978. Right. The single monopole was put up in 1983, and the 5 across the back, which is the main driven element on 6 or driven array, they were put up in 1981-82.
The building itself is steeped in history, having been used for the highly secret experiments with over-the-horizon radar in the early 1970s.
Designed to be functional, wasn't it?
It was indeed. There's no sort of design major features. It's up on stilts because the floor level of the building is the 1953 flood level.
Ah, there's a Dutch connection there.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
The Foreign Office, and later the BBC, were quick to spot that this is an ideal place to beam a strong signal into Europe.
I've been since my late teens, and I was my first tour overseas was to Perham Island, where we had a medium wave station, and I've then been mainly based at Crowborough with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, DWS, Diplomatic Wireless Service, and then went to Madeira Island for a couple of trips, and also to Cyprus, to Ziggy in Cyprus. Was in Cyprus when the Ladies Mile extension was installed, and saw the Foreign Office Doherty transmitters, which were built at Crowborough, go into Ladies Mile. After my first tour in Cyprus, I spent another year at Crowborough on the Espidestra transmitter, and then was posted up to Orfordness in 1981, and spent 3 years here at Orfordness, and then again out to Cyprus for a 4-year tour. During that time, the BBC took over the Foreign Office commitment for broadcast, and I joined the BBC, returned to the UK, and eventually ended at the Wufferton transmitting site in Shropshire. And from there I've moved back to Orfordness, and now I've been at Orfordness since 1997.
So transmitters are in your blood?
They are indeed, yes.
What's the fascination with this type of work?
I find them very satisfying. I enjoy either day work or shift work. Just really working with transmitters, it's always been very satisfying. Good part of the industry I very much enjoy.
A lot of teamwork involved, because it's something...
Very much so, yes. I think with shift work you're working with a team, sometimes a varying team, and here at Orfordness we have a small team, and if we come out on call out, then there's just one engineer and a ferryman as the initial team that comes out. So it's very much a team job.
Now, are these type of transmitters, very high power transmitters, are they reliable?
Generally they are, yes. the more recent ones are quite complicated. And a few years ago, there was always a large number of shift staff on, particularly with the aspidestria transmitters. There was quite a large shift complement. But when the move was made to Orford Ness with the installation, firstly of the FCO Doherty transmitters, they went on a remote controlled basis, and then the AG Telefunken transmitter that was installed in 1982, that was then remotely controlled from Crowborough at that time. So yes, we've moved to an unstaffed situation. I know perhaps over the Easter period there would be a 5-day break and nobody would come to site during that time.
Why did they close Crowborough?
I think the main thing against Crowborough was the site. It was inland, and medium wave inland is not good, and it's going to lose a lot of the signal going from the Crowborough area through to the coast. Shortwave use of Crowborough was obviously not a problem in that respect. They were looking for a new site, and I understand Pevensey on the south coast was one of the areas they looked at. And then the site at Orford Ness came available because of its previous use for over-the-horizon radar had ceased rather abruptly in 1973. And so the opportunity was taken to move a 50 kilowatt transmitter that was not being used at Crowborough, had previously been used in Bechuanaland for transmissions into southern Rhodesia. It was moved to Orford Ness, and the signal out from Orford Ness was found to be so good into Europe that that really was the beginning of the end of the Crowborough site.
Okay, perhaps you can explain about the antennas behind us. There are 5 towers I can count, plus one thing in the middle. What are they for? How do they work?
Right, well, therefore, that is the 648 service from Orford Ness, and the 5 towers is the main array. Each tower is fed by a portion of the output of the 500 kilowatt transmitter. There's 2 50 ohm 4 1/8 copper metal coaxes go out from the building into ATH3, which is the middle tower, Tower 3. There's a power division network that divides the power, and it's then fed on power and phase relationship to the 5 towers. This then gives a broad beam forward direction to Europe on 132 degrees. So that's our main 648 array. Very good front to back ratio. It's an antenna system designed by the BBC, was in fact designed for 6 towers, but Marconi won the contract to install the system because they proved that they could get the desired polar diagram with just 5 towers. So we've got a 5 tower system.
So you only beam east, do you?
Yes, indeed. Yes, just straight across into Europe.
So you've got excellent reception in Amsterdam and lousy reception in Aldeburgh.
Not so much Aldeburgh, but because it's so close in, but certainly not so far behind the antenna system. You do run into a mushy area, whereas in Holland, Amsterdam, yes, certainly a very good signal.
Okay, so that's the 648, and then in front of it there's a single tower. What's that?
Yes, indeed. That's a small omnidirectional antenna. That was installed as a reserve antenna. Because we operate a 24-hour service on 648, we needed to have some reserve antenna facility. The local population were not too keen on many more towers going up, so a short antenna with a capacity hat on it has been installed. It was installed at the same time as the 5-element array, and that is adjusted. The feed and the capacity hat's adjusted so that there is no tuning components at the base of the antenna. The 50 ohm coax just goes straight out to the antenna. It's fed up to the top of the antenna, and then the actual mast itself is grounded at the base, and that provides a reserve facility, but at a maximum power of 250 kilowatts.
Yeah, so it's very much a backup.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So if we're doing mast painting or we've got to do ATH maintenance or repairs, then that comes into service.
Now, you're pretty exposed here on the coast. I mean, is one of the problems salt?
No, surprisingly not. We're very lucky in that respect. Having worked on some of the overseas sites where salt is a major problem, no, we don't suffer any great problem from that. And our vehicles, I think, reflect that fact, that they don't rot away any quicker than vehicles 20, 30 miles inland. So we're very lucky in that respect.
But how often do you have to paint the towers?
They're every 7 years. And this year is when we're planning to paint the towers within a few weeks' time.
It used to be that they were actually lit up at night.
They were indeed, because we had RAF Bentwaters and we were on the flight path. These towers were lit, but that airbase was closed, and the need for the tower lighting was removed.
So at night it's just pitch black?
It's just no lights on any of their towers now.
But you do more than 648?
Yes, indeed. 1296 is our second frequency from Orfordness, and we have a 6-tower array. It's 2 3-element arrays. Each half of the array is fed by a 250 kilowatt transmitter that coax comes back to the transmitter building. The centre element of each array is fed, and it's on a beam of 96 degrees. The antenna was installed in 1978, and the target area at the time was for skywave propagation down into southern Europe.
Okay.
And this antenna replaced a 6-element Yagi, vertical Yagi antenna at Crowborough when the service was moved to Orfordness. The problem with the antenna at Crowborough was the very low feed impedance on the driven tower, and the feed impedance on the driven tower of the 1296 array here at Orfordness is further improved by feeding a cage and feeding up and over the top, so it's like half a folded dipole, and then there's an ATH at the base of each tower where there's tuning components.
I'm amazed about the fact that you've got this giant building. The transmitters are basically dwarfed by the building, aren't they?
They are indeed, and even the more modern transmitter, like our new DRM transmitter, would fit into quite a small porta cabin or some form of cabin. It's purely because the building was here, its former use had finished, and it became a very good site from a broadcast point of view.
Just to check one thing, the Aspidistra transmitter, the original one, that never moved from Crowborough, did it?
No, it didn't.
It didn't. There's some components that came here.
Some components came to Orfordness, unfortunately, because as far as I know, that's all that's left of the transmitter. It was scrapped when it came out of service. I went down for the close down when Harold Robin pressed the off key for the last time. It was then, after that, scrapped. Fortunately, the engineer in charge at the time organised to have a coupling coil and some of the valves brought up to Orfordness from Crowborough, and they're now displayed in our foyer. I believe one of the units was offered to the Science Museum, but they didn't have the space or facilities to take that on, which is a shame.
Very little of this technology is actually preserved, isn't it?
It is indeed, that's right. And I think we'll live to regret that as time goes on.
Fortunately, the engineers at Orfordness have documented a lot of the work that's been going on in the building over the decades. I have a lot of respect for the precision engineering knowledge needed to keep these high-power transmitters working round the clock. When you're playing with many thousands of volts, safety becomes a way of life. As well as keeping photos of what they've built, the back office also contains photos of the building's former life as the secret Cobra Mist project. This was a joint Anglo-American attempt to build a radar system that could see enemy aircraft up to 3,700 kilometres away, so well over the horizon. A fan-shaped antenna was built at the end of the 1960s, and the building, on stilts, had 2 floors. On the lower level were the transmitters putting out pulses of energy, and that was run by the British. The floor above contained the receiving centre, where the return signals were analysed by the US Air Force. As we know from many publications since, the $100 million system never worked. After several years of trying to figure out the interference problems, the Americans suddenly gave up, and on June 30th, 1973, the system was shut down. But if you type Orford Ness into Google Earth, you can still see the outline of the radio antennas. Many of the white antenna rods are now supporting runner beams in gardens in the Orford area, and some veterans of the project have been back to the building on the marshes to share some memorabilia. For my part, I've decided to do more investigations into the golden age of transmitter technology, capturing these fascinating stories before they fade away. Thanks for watching.
Als reuzencacteën zijn op het Antilliaanse eiland Bonaire de masten omhoog geschoten van een tweetal nieuwe korte golfzenders die het mogelijk moeten maken de stem van Nederland in Noord-, Midden- en Zuid-Amerika luider te doen klinken. De in totaal 17 masten, waarvan de hoogste 103 meter is en die in de brosse koraalbodem een stevige fundering krijgen, worden hier gebouwd in opdracht van Radio Nederland Wereldomroep.
In die tijd waren Zuid-Amerika, Midden-Amerika, Noord-Amerika, maar vooral ook Nieuw-Zeeland en Australië hele belangrijke doelgebieden. En die konden vanuit Nederland slecht bestreken worden. In die tijd was het nog zo, tijd van de Koude Oorlog, dat elk land had zo'n beetje zijn eigen wereldomroep. Het was niet gebruikelijk om bij andere omroepen zendtijd in te huren. En Bonaire was een uitstekende plaats, vooral ook omdat we aan alle kanten door water worden omringd. En dat is erg goed voor de uitzendingen.
The transmitters were shipped from the Netherlands to Bonaire. But when they arrived on the Caribbean island, a problem emerged on the journey to the relay station.
Die zenders die kwamen in hele grote kisten, want destijds bestonden er nog geen containers. En ze hadden inderdaad een soort van dieplader gevonden met een of andere bulldozer ervoor. En die heeft de zenders naar het station gebracht. Het enige probleem was eigenlijk dit stukje hier, want het is behoorlijk smal hier. En bij de eerste kist bleek dus dat het er niet langs kon. En daar hebben ze een paar dagen over nagedacht en gekeken of er misschien nog een andere weg was aan de achterkant van wat nu het station is, maar dat lukte allemaal niet. En toen op een hele stille zondagochtend, heel vroeg, toen heeft de toenmalige projectmanager wat dynamiet geregeld bij de Salt Company en heeft een stukje van die rots daar afgehaald.
Dat mocht?
Nee, natuurlijk niet. Vandaar die stille zondagochtend. Maar wat hij zich dus niet realiseerde, dat was dat die rots in de loop van de tijd zwart wordt. En als je daar een stuk afhaalt, dan is die wit en dat duurt een paar duizend jaar voordat hij weer zwart is. En dat is nog steeds ons aandenken. Dus als wij hier dadelijk helemaal weg zijn, dan is deze witte plek nog te aandenken aan de keer dat we hier langskwamen.
The official opening of the relay station in 1969 was attended by numerous dignitaries from the Netherlands Antilles and the Netherlands itself. Queen Juliana wasn't present, but she made herself heard.
In een tijd waarin gebrekkige communicatie meer dan ooit zo verstorend kan werken, is het van belang dat ons eigen, bewust niet propagandistisch geluid een duidelijker klankbeeld kan geven van onze inzichten, onze cultuur, onze wijze van leven.
The relay station, with 2 of the world's most powerful transmitters at the time, provided a big boost to Bonaire's economy.
Op dat moment bood de Wereldomroep 45 arbeidsplaatsen. En dat op een eiland waar eigenlijk alleen het zout aanwezig was met 50 arbeidsplaatsen. De textielfabriek met iets van 100 arbeidsplaatsen, meestal ongeschoold. En dat was het wel zo'n beetje. Dus de wereldomroep was buitengewoon belangrijk voor het eiland in die tijd.
Only 20 people still work at the relay station.
Op het moment waait het heel erg, dus dan komt het wel eens voor dat antennebreuk optreedt. En als je pech hebt, dan gebeurt dat bovenin, zoals vandaag. Dus dan moesten we die antenne laten zakken om wat boven gebroken is, om dat weer te repareren. En dan, dan hoop je dat binnen een dag te doen en om minder schade te voorkomen.
Many of the employees have spent their entire working lives at the relay station. With the end of the shortwave era, they face an uncertain future.
Ik ben hier begonnen na mijn opleiding. Ik heb hier zelf stage gelopen nog in 88. En ja, je hebt een huis kunnen bouwen, je hebt auto's kunnen kopen, je hebt een familie kunnen opvoeden en dat valt allemaal weg nou. Ja, het is een grote klap voor iedereen.
The very last regular shortwave broadcast was in Spanish to Mexico and Central America.
Era toda alegría. Imitando al canario tuvo a bien decir algo y ensanchó la mentira. Que achicaran la jaula, que cortaran las alas, que forraran los cuines con cartones y grises y que nadie saltara. En la jaula el sinsonte parecía contento. En toda la barriada su suerte era envidiada y los pájaros sueltos imitando el ejemplo cayeron en la trampa.
On June 30th, 2012, at 1:57 UTC, Bonaire fell silent.